Hi, I'm Valerie. Imagine coming home to find your husband not only leaving you for another woman, but moving her into your home, saying, "Make room for Emma." His smirk, that cold, indifferent smirk, was the last straw. But here's the twist. What happened next wasn't just about a broken marriage. It was about taking back my power. Want to know how I turned the tables? Stay with me, and let's talk about betrayal, strength, and redemption. Drop a 1 if you've ever had to rebuild after heartbreak. I'd love to hear your story. I remember the moment my world shattered. I was sitting at my desk, sipping my coffee, the soft hum of the afternoon in the background. The world seemed calm, peaceful, and for a moment I thought everything was going to be fine. Then my phone buzzed. Just a simple vibration, nothing more. But when I looked down at the screen, the text sent me spiraling. I want a divorce. That was it. No explanation, no build-up, just those words. And just like that, 20 years of marriage came to an abrupt halt. The irony? Ethan had sent the message while sitting just a few feet away from me. I could feel the weight of his indifference, even though he wasn't looking at me. How could he be so cold? How could he destroy everything we built with such a lack of emotion? I felt a rush of heat spread through my chest, but there were no words. How do you react when the life you thought you knew is suddenly ripped away? How could he do this to me? After all these years? My body felt like it froze, like the blood in my veins had stopped flowing. My heart was pounding, but my mind couldn't catch up. Everything seemed to blur, as if the world around me was moving in slow motion. The air in the room felt thick, and I could barely breathe. I thought about all the moments I had shared with Ethan, the anniversaries, the quiet nights, the laughter. Had it all meant nothing? It was as if time had stopped. The apartment, the one we had created together, now felt like a cage, its walls closing in around me. The same space that had once been filled with laughter and love now felt empty, foreign. I had spent so many years dedicating myself to my family, to Ethan. I had put everything into our life, and yet, in one cruel moment, I was left questioning it all. What had gone wrong? How had I not seen this coming? My mind raced with thoughts, but all I could hear was the deafening silence between us. The city outside, bustling with life, seemed so distant from what I was feeling. The noise of San Francisco's streets, the hum of people and cars moving in every direction, felt miles away from the stillness that filled my living room. The apartment we once dreamed of was now a tomb of broken promises and shattered dreams. I looked at Ethan, still sitting there, as if nothing had happened. His face was impassive, distant. He didn't even flinch when I read the words aloud. "I want a divorce?" I repeated, my voice shaking, my hand trembling as I held the phone. He shrugged, a nonchalant gesture that only fueled the fire of my anger. "It's exactly what it says. I'm in love with Natalie. We've been seeing each other for a while now. I'm moving on." I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, to lash out, but I held it in. I had always prided myself on being the calm one, the strong one, the one who held everything together. But in that moment, all the years of holding it all together came crashing down on me. "Why?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why her? After everything we've built?" "Because it's what I want," he said, his tone flat, devoid of any emotion. "She's moving in soon, and I need you to pack your things by the end of the week. You can't stay here anymore." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I had always thought Ethan and I had an understanding, a bond that nothing could break. But this felt like betrayal on every level. It wasn't just the affair. It was the complete disregard for everything we had shared. I stood up, my hands shaking, the world spinning around me. "What about Olivia and Emma? Have you thought about them? How is this going to affect them?" He scoffed. "They're old enough to understand. They'll be fine. They'll choose who they want to live with. I don't see why it has to be so complicated." I felt the rage build inside me. My children, my daughters, would be caught in the middle of this. My heart ached as I thought about them. How could Ethan be so callous? How could he turn their lives upside down like this? I opened my mouth to say something, but the words wouldn't come. The lump in my throat was too big to swallow, the tears too many to hold back. "You're doing this for her, aren't you?" I asked, barely able to get the words out. "You're willing to lose your family for her?" Ethan didn't answer. He didn't need to. His silence was enough. I could see it in his eyes. He had already made his choice. I was nothing. The woman who had been by his side for over 2 decades, the one who had raised our children, built our life, none of that mattered now. I turned, my vision blurred with tears, and stumbled out of the room. My hands trembled as I grabbed my car keys. I couldn't stay there anymore. I had to leave, to get away, to think. The world felt like it was collapsing in on me, and I needed space to breathe. I drove aimlessly through the city, the streets blurring together. I didn't know where I was going, but I needed to be alone, to process this, to find some clarity. The hum of the car's engine was the only sound as I drove, my mind spinning with thoughts I couldn't make sense of. And then it hit me. Ethan didn't just leave me. He had turned my daughters against me. He had manipulated them, painted me as the villain. Olivia and Emma sided with him, and just like that, I was an outsider in my own family. My heart shattered all over again. I thought about all the years I spent being the best mother I could be. How could they not see it? How could they just turn their backs on me? I wanted to call them, to make them understand, but I knew it wouldn't help. The damage had been done. I drove until the city lights blurred into a haze, until the reality of my situation hit me with full force. I wasn't just losing Ethan. I was losing everything. My family, my home, my life. I pulled into a parking lot, my hands still trembling, and sent a text to Sophia. I needed her. She was the one person who had always been there for me, no matter what. I knew I couldn't face this alone. Within minutes, she was there, her arms wrapping around me as I broke down in her embrace. "I don't know what to do," I whispered through the tears. "It's okay, Val," she said, her voice steady. "This is just the beginning, not the end. You're going to get through this. We're going to get through this." For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I could start over. Maybe this wouldn't destroy me. I wasn't sure yet, but I knew one thing. Whatever came next, I wouldn't face it alone. As I sat in the lawyer's office, the weight of the divorce papers before me felt heavier than anything I had ever held. The smooth, cold texture of the legal documents seemed to mock me, a stark reminder that everything I had known was unraveling. I felt like a stranger to my own life, my future uncertain, my world shattered. The stack of papers in front of me, each one carrying the weight of betrayal, loss, and everything that had been ripped away, felt insurmountable. Jack Stevens, my lawyer, sat across from me, his eyes fixed on the papers, his expression unreadable, but calm. He was methodical, sharp, a professional who didn't allow his emotions to bleed into his work. I envied that about him, but I wasn't there to dwell in the past. I was there to build the future. And in that moment, I needed to focus. I needed to find something, anything, that could change the course of this nightmare. As I gathered my documents, my fingers brushed against a stack of old papers in the corner of the file. It was a folder I hadn't looked at in years. I reached for it absent-mindedly, and as soon as I opened it, something caught my eye. A letter, one I had never seen before. I read through it quickly, my pulse quickening as the words sank in. It was a clause from my father's will, something I had completely forgotten about. A hidden inheritance, an inheritance he had left me years ago, one that Ethan had no knowledge of. My heart raced as the weight of the discovery hit me. This was it. This was the weapon I had been waiting for. Ethan had been so focused on breaking me, on tearing apart my family, that he had no idea I had this card up my sleeve. This inheritance was mine alone, and it could change everything. I felt a cold wave of fear wash over me. For a brief moment, I wondered if this discovery would be the right thing to use. Could I really use this weapon to fight Ethan, even if it meant making the battle even more brutal? Was there a part of me that wanted to fight cleanly, not destroy everything in my path? The inner conflict raged inside me. Using the inheritance could give me the upper hand in the divorce, but at what cost? Was I willing to risk losing even more than I already had? The thought of hurting my family further, of using a hidden resource to win this battle, made my stomach twist with doubt. But then, another thought. What if this wasn't just about winning? What if it was about taking back what was mine, about standing up for the years I had sacrificed for Ethan? My fingers clenched around the papers as the decision became clearer. This was no longer just about keeping my dignity, it was about fighting for my future. It wasn't a choice between fighting dirty or clean. It was a choice between being crushed or standing strong. I felt the tiniest flicker of hope as I realized this wasn't just about the house or custody of the children. No, this was bigger. This was about power. Ethan had taken so much from me, but now I had something that could shift the balance in my favor. He thought he had control, but he hadn't counted on this. "Jack," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me, "I need to talk to you about something." Jack looked up from the papers he had been reviewing, his eyes locking onto mine. "What is it?" he asked, sensing the change in my tone. I slid the letter across the table toward him. "This," I said, "it's an inheritance my father left me. I didn't even know about it until now. Ethan doesn't know about it either." Jack's eyebrows raised slightly as he read the clause. He didn't say anything at first, but I could see the wheels turning in his mind. This was a game changer. "This could be exactly what you need," Jack said finally, his voice low and serious. "If we play this right, it could tip the scales in your favor." I nodded, feeling the weight of the situation settle in. Ethan had taken everything from me, my trust, my family, my sense of security. But now I had a weapon of my own, and I wasn't going to let him win. "We need to make sure this inheritance is locked down," Jack continued. "I'll file the necessary paperwork, make sure it's in your name, and we'll use it to our advantage in court. You've got leverage now, Valerie. We're not just fighting for custody anymore. We're fighting for power." As we strategized, my mind raced with possibilities. This inheritance could be the thing that made or broke me in court. Ethan had already stolen my family, but I wasn't going to let him steal my financial future too. I had worked hard for everything, built my career from the ground up. This was mine. It was time to take control. "I'm ready," I said, my voice firm with resolve. "Let's do it." The next few hours were a blur of legal jargon and paperwork, but I didn't care. I had a plan. I had something Ethan didn't know about. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt a glimmer of hope. As I left Jack's office, the sun felt different. The world around me seemed brighter, lighter. The weight of uncertainty that had been pressing down on me for days had lifted, even if just for a moment. I wasn't helpless anymore. I wasn't the woman on the losing side of this fight. Number I was going to fight back, and I was going to win. I knew this wasn't over. The battle had only just begun. But now, I had the means to change the game. And I wasn't about to let Ethan get away with it. The drive home was quiet, my mind racing with the possibilities. This inheritance was just the beginning. The next step was to confront Ethan in court. And when I did, I would be ready. Ready to reclaim what was mine, ready to make him regret the day he ever thought he could break me. The day of the trial arrived, and as I sat in the courtroom, I could feel the weight of everything I had fought for pressing down on me. Every second, every breath was heavier than the last. This was it, the culmination of everything that had led me to this moment. Ethan sat across from me, his smug expression barely masking the unease I knew was creeping in. His arrogance had been his shield for so long, but now it was starting to crack. He had no idea what was coming for him. The courtroom was cold, the air thick with tension. The walls felt as if they were closing in on me, but I didn't flinch. This was my time. The judge, a stern, no-nonsense woman with sharp eyes, sat at the front, preparing for a battle neither of us could back down from. I could almost hear the heartbeat of the room, a rhythm pulsing with every word, every moment. The world seemed to narrow to this single point in time. I wasn't just fighting for my share of our broken life anymore. I was fighting for everything I had lost and everything I still had left. Jack Stevens sat beside me, his calm demeanor a constant reassurance. He had been a pillar of support, his professionalism a stark contrast to the chaos that had been my life. He glanced over at me, his eyes steady and focused. "We're ready," he whispered, the simple words giving me more strength than I could put into words. Ethan's lawyer, a slick and polished man in an expensive suit, sat on the other side of the table. I could see the doubt in his eyes, the slight nervousness he tried so hard to mask. They were trying to discredit me, to paint me as the villain in this story, but I was no longer the woman they thought I was. The woman who had let Ethan control everything, let him dictate the terms of our marriage. No, today I was the one holding the power. Today I would rewrite our story. The trial began with the usual formalities, pleasantries and protocols that made my stomach churn. But as the proceedings unfolded, I could feel the tide shifting. I wasn't just sitting in this room as a victim. I was here to fight, and fight I would. When Jack stood up to present his opening statement, I felt a sense of pride swell in my chest. His words were sharp, calculated. He painted Ethan as a man who had been living a double life, a man who had been siphoning money from our joint accounts for months. The inheritance I had discovered was just the beginning. Jack laid out the evidence before the court: bank statements, receipts, transfers, proof that Ethan had been stealing from me, from our family, all the while pretending to be the devoted husband and father. I could feel my hands trembling. The emotions inside me surged: anger, betrayal, and a deep desire to get justice. But amidst it all, there was an overwhelming feeling of being exposed. This was no longer just a legal battle. This was personal. Ethan wasn't just sitting across from me as my estranged husband. He was the man who had torn my world apart, and now I had to face him, his eyes, his presence, his denial of everything we built. The world outside the courtroom seemed to blur as the battle for my future intensified. I could feel Ethan's gaze shift uncomfortably, his face paling ever so slightly as the truth began to unfold. The smug smile he had walked in with was beginning to fade. He glanced over at his lawyer, but I could see the panic in his eyes. He wasn't in control anymore. The game had changed, and he hadn't even seen it coming. "Your Honor," Jack continued, his voice unwavering, "this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have proof of more than just financial misconduct. Ethan's actions have hurt more than just Valerie. They've destroyed this family, and he's going to pay for that." Ethan's lawyer stood, attempting to interject. "Objection, Your Honor. This is all speculative. There's no concrete evidence linking these claims." The judge didn't even flinch. "Sustained," she said curtly. "Proceed with the evidence, Mr. Stevens." I felt a surge of confidence. This wasn't just a legal battle anymore. It was my battle. A battle for my dignity, my future, and the future of my children. I wasn't just going to let Ethan walk away from this. He had done enough damage already. As the trial continued, tensions rose. Ethan's lawyer tried desperately to discredit me, to paint me as unstable, as a woman out for revenge. But Jack shut them down, piece by piece. He presented facts. He presented the truth. And the truth was something Ethan couldn't hide anymore. I could feel the war raging inside me. On the one hand, I wanted nothing more than to tear into Ethan, to let him feel the full weight of the devastation he had caused. But I had to hold it together, not just for the court, but for me. The emotional toll was taking its own shape, and I knew I had to rise above it. Still, I could hear his voice, the calm indifference, mocking me from across the room. I could see the cracks in Ethan's armor, his arrogance slipping further and further away. He was no longer the man I had loved. He was just a man fighting for his own survival now, and I was the one pulling the strings. The climax came when the judge slammed her gavel down, the sound echoing through the room like a thunderclap. "The evidence of financial misconduct is irrefutable," she said, her voice firm. "I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff, Mrs. Thompson. Ethan Thompson will be held accountable for his actions." I couldn't help the rush of relief that flooded through me. This was it. This was the moment I had been fighting for. For so long, I had felt helpless, like a victim in a story that wasn't even mine to write. But now, I was in control. The weight of everything I had fought for, the years of marriage, the betrayal, the pain, finally started to lift off my shoulders. It wasn't over, not by a long shot, but this victory, this moment was mine. Ethan sat there, his face devoid of any emotion. His smug smile was gone, replaced with the quiet realization that he had lost. He had lost everything, his freedom, his family, his future, and I could finally see it in his eyes, the fear that had been lurking there all along, the fear that he was about to lose even more. I walked out of the courtroom with shaky legs, but my head was held high. I wasn't walking out just as a woman who had survived betrayal. I was walking out as someone who had taken control of her life again. The battle wasn't over, and I knew there were still scars to heal. But for the first time in so long, I felt a sense of victory. A victory that had come at a great cost, but one that was worth every second. As the trial ended, I stood up, my legs shaky but strong. Jack offered me a supportive smile and I nodded, the weight of the victory settling in. I had won the legal battle, but the emotional battle was far from over. The pain, the anger, the hurt, they were still there, just waiting to be dealt with. But today was a win, a big one. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. I walked out of the courtroom with my head held high, feeling like I had finally reclaimed a part of myself. The legal battle was over, but now the real work began. I had to rebuild everything from the ground up, but for the first time in what felt like forever, I knew I could do it. I stood in the middle of my new apartment surrounded by boxes. The smell of fresh paint still lingered in the air, mixing with the faint scent of the wooden floors beneath me. This was supposed to be a fresh start, but it felt surreal. The floor creaked beneath my feet, the only sound in the otherwise silent room. Could this really be the beginning of my new life? It had only been a few weeks since the court ruling, and I was already here, alone, but in control. This apartment wasn't much. It was small, cozy, but it was mine. That was something I had never truly had before. All these years, I had shared everything with Ethan, our home, our dreams, our family. But now, I was starting from scratch, and that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. The city of San Francisco sprawled out before me, a sprawling metropolis of opportunity and change. The skyline, bathed in the golden light of the late afternoon, reminded me that anything was possible here. I could feel a new energy coursing through me, something I hadn't felt in years. This was my chance to rebuild not just my home, but my life, my future. Taking a deep breath, I looked out over the city. The skyline seemed to shimmer with possibility, and for the first time in a long while, I felt hope, real hope. I could do this. I could build something new, something for me, something I could be proud of. Sophia had been with me through every step of this journey. She had watched me crumble, and she had been there to help me pick up the pieces. Her unwavering support was a constant reminder that I wasn't alone. I was stronger than I had ever known, and I was learning how to stand on my own. But even so, the weight of the emotional toll still lingered. I could still feel the ache of loneliness that crept in when the days grew quiet and the apartment felt too empty. The silence echoed in the spaces where laughter used to live. Despite everything I had gained, I found myself battling moments of doubt, wondering if I had made the right choices or if I was truly capable of carrying on without Ethan. There was still a long road ahead, and I knew it wouldn't be easy. The reality of starting over hit me harder than I had anticipated. This wasn't just about moving into a new place, it was about confronting everything I had been through, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the loneliness. I was forced to face the quiet moments, the ones when the world outside moved on but I was stuck, trying to piece together the fragments of my shattered life. It wasn't just the physical act of starting over. It was the emotional resilience I had to summon from deep within and the fear of being alone again, of never truly escaping the echoes of the past. My mind often drifted to Olivia and Emma. I wondered how they were coping with everything. Had they forgiven me for the way things had fallen apart? Or did they still blame me for not seeing the cracks in our family sooner? But I couldn't dwell on the past. I had to keep moving forward. I had to focus on the present, on what I could control. And one of the first things I needed to do was get back to work. I had put my career on the back burner for too long, thinking I could balance it all. Now it was time to reclaim it. I attended an interior design event later that week, something I had put off for years. I remember walking into the room feeling a strange sense of accomplishment wash over me. This was where I belonged. This was where my new life began. Surrounded by professionals in my field, I realized how far I had come. I wasn't just a woman who had lost everything anymore. I was a woman who was building herself back up, one step at a time. As I stood there talking to old colleagues and making new connections, a part of me couldn't help but feel pride. I was no longer just the wife betrayed. I was Valerie Thompson, the woman who had survived, the woman who was thriving. The sense of accomplishment was almost overwhelming. This was what I had been working for. This was the future I had always wanted, even if it had taken a different path to get here. But as the evening wore on, a familiar sense of guilt crept in. What about Olivia and Emma? How were they really doing? The doubt began to settle in, that nagging feeling that I might not have done enough to fight for them. Could they ever forgive me for the way things had fallen apart? Could I ever forgive myself? Just as I was lost in my thoughts, my phone buzzed. I glanced down at the screen and my heart skipped a beat. It was Olivia, my daughter, my precious girl. I took a deep breath before answering. "Hi, Mom." Olivia's voice came through the line, hesitant and soft. "Hey, sweetie, how are you?" I asked, my voice steady, but inside my heart was racing. "I've been thinking a lot lately," she said, her voice cracking slightly, "and I want to come visit you. Can I come by this weekend?" I froze for a moment, unsure of how to respond. A part of me wanted to say no, wanted to protect myself from any more pain, from the risk of further rejection. But deep down, I knew this was the moment. This was the chance for us to begin healing. "Yes," I said, my voice firm but full of emotion. "Please come by. I'd love to see you." I hung up the phone, my mind racing. Was this the turning point I had been waiting for? Was Olivia ready to rebuild our relationship? Or was this just another painful reminder of everything we had lost? The weekend arrived too quickly. I prepared myself as best as I could, not knowing what to expect. When Olivia walked through the door, I was speechless. She had grown so much, both in stature and in spirit. I could see the maturity in her eyes, the quiet strength that had developed in the months we had been apart. We stood there for a moment, unsure of what to do or say. Then, without warning, Olivia crossed the room and wrapped her arms around me. I held her tightly, my heart swelling with love and regret all at once. For the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. "We'll get through this, Mom," Olivia whispered, her voice soft but certain. "I know we will." I smiled through my tears. the weight of everything I had carried for so long finally beginning to lift. It wasn't going to be easy, it wasn't going to be perfect, but this was a start, a beginning. And for the first time in a long while, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. As Olivia left, she turned back to me, her eyes filled with a new understanding. "I love you, Mom. I'll see you soon." And as she walked out the door, I knew that the hardest part was still ahead of me. But now, for the first time, I felt like I wasn't facing it alone. The phone rings again. It's Jack, my lawyer. He has news. "The case isn't over yet," he says. My heart skips a beat. I thought the court case was settled, but apparently Ethan's not done fighting. The words hit me like a slap in the face. I had thought it was finally over. After everything, the betrayal, the courtroom, the fight for my future, I thought I could finally breathe. But apparently, Ethan had other plans. I try to steady my breath as I sit at my desk, my fingers wrapped around the phone. The weight of the situation presses down on me, reminding me how much I've already been through. But I can't stop now. I can't let Ethan have the last word, not after everything he's done. This time, it's going to be different. Jack's voice comes through the line, calm and professional. "We've uncovered some new evidence, financial discrepancies, stuff Ethan can't explain away. It's the last piece of the puzzle, Valerie. This time, we've got him." I feel a surge of adrenaline rush through me, and suddenly I'm wide awake. This is it. The final push. Ethan may think he can manipulate his way out of this, but he's about to learn that I'm no longer the same woman who was willing to let him have control. I fought too hard to back down now. I hang up with Jack, my mind racing with the possibilities. The financial discrepancies could be the final nail in Ethan's coffin. For months, I had felt powerless, at the mercy of his lies and manipulation. But now, the tables were turning. The truth was coming out, and this time, I was going to make sure it couldn't be ignored. I sit back in my office chair and glance out at the city skyline. San Francisco. The city I love. The city that had seen me at my lowest. But now, the city where I had rebuilt everything. My career, my confidence, my sense of self. The skyline is a reminder of how far I've come. I'm no longer the woman caught in the wreckage of her marriage. I'm a woman with a future. A woman who is ready to take control of her destiny. I stand up, moving toward the windows. The weight of the new evidence weighs heavily on me, but this time it's different. This time I have the upper hand. I know what it's like to feel helpless, to feel like there's no way out, but I also know what it's like to fight back, to find strength where I thought there was none. And I wasn't going to stop now. The next few days are a blur of paperwork, meetings with Jack, and strategic planning. Ethan may have thought he had won, but I knew better. He had underestimated me at every turn, and now it was time for the final blow. The day of the final hearing arrives, and as I walk into the courtroom, I can feel the weight of everything that's been building. This is it, the moment that will decide everything. My heart races, but my mind is clear. I'm not going to let this opportunity slip through my fingers. I sit down at the table, Jack beside me. Ethan is on the opposite side, his smug expression still firmly in place, but there's something different about him today. He's no longer the confident man who walked into the first hearing. The evidence we've uncovered is too strong, and he knows it. The trial begins, and Jack presents the new evidence. He lays out the financial discrepancies, proof that Ethan had been siphoning money from our joint accounts for months. It's clear. It's undeniable. Ethan can't hide behind lies or manipulation anymore. The truth is finally on the table. Ethan's lawyer attempts to counter, but their arguments fall apart. Every attempt to discredit the evidence, every attempt to manipulate the court, is met with Jack's unwavering rebuttals. I watch Ethan's expression shift from confidence to panic. His arrogance is slipping away, and for the first time, I can see the fear in his eyes, the fear that he's losing everything. The judge listens intently, and I can feel the tension in the room. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Ethan has tried to tear apart my family, tried to steal my future, but today, he's the one on the chopping block. The judge takes a deep breath, and I hold mine, waiting for her decision. After reviewing all the evidence, the judge says, her voice steady, it is clear that Mr. Thompson has engaged in financial misconduct. His actions have not only hurt his ex-wife, but they have hurt his children, and they will not go unpunished. My heart races as the judge continues. I am awarding full custody of the children to Mrs. Thompson, and Mr. Thompson is to pay restitution for his financial misconduct. The court will ensure that his actions are held accountable. The words hit me like a wave, and for a moment I feel as if I'm floating. Full custody, restitution, justice. After everything, this is the victory I've been fighting for. I did it. I won. I feel a flood of relief rush through me. For the first time in months, I feel like I can breathe. The battle is finally over. Ethan's smug smile is gone. His face is pale, his jaw tight with anger and disbelief. But I don't care. He's lost. He's been caught, and he's going to pay for what he's done. As I walk out of the courtroom, I feel the weight lifting from my shoulders. For so long, I've felt trapped in this fight. But now, it's over. I've won. The manipulations, the lies, the heartbreak, they've all been exposed. And now, for the first time in what feels like forever, I feel free. But as I step out of the courthouse, I know that this victory is just the beginning. Ethan may have lost this battle, but I still have a long way to go. The emotional scars of the past still linger, and I know the road to healing is going to be hard, but I'm ready for it. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm in control of my future. I stand on the courthouse steps, taking a deep breath. The air feels different now, lighter. The battle may be over, but the war for my future has just begun. I'm ready for what comes next. The phone rings, and it's Emma. "Mom, can we talk?" The words I've been waiting for. My heart skips a beat, the sound of her voice carrying a mixture of hope and uncertainty. The anger and bitterness from the past are slowly melting away, like the first thaw after a long winter. Maybe, just maybe, we can fix what's broken. I sit still for a moment, letting the weight of her words sink in. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for, the moment I've been dreading. Our family, fractured by lies and betrayal, now has a chance to heal. I can't help but feel a flicker of hope deep inside me. Maybe we can rebuild what we lost. But can we? Can I truly forgive them for turning away from me? And can they forgive me for not seeing the truth sooner? It's a quiet evening in my new apartment, the soft hum of the city outside barely reaching me. The smell of freshly brewed coffee fills the air, mingling with the warmth of my new space. Sophia is sitting on the couch across from me, her eyes filled with anticipation. We both know that this is a crucial moment. My daughters, Emma and Olivia, are coming over to visit, and this could be the turning point in our relationship. "Are you ready?" Sophia asks, her voice calm but laced with concern. She knows how hard this is going to be, but she's also the one person who has stood by me through everything. I nod slowly, feeling a mix of nervousness and determination. "I'm ready," I say, my voice steady. I have to be. For them, for me, for us. This is the moment where we either rebuild or lose everything. The doorbell rings, and I feel my heart race. I get up and open the door, and there they are, Olivia and Emma standing in front of me. Their faces are guarded, and I can see the uncertainty in their eyes. My throat tightens as I step aside, letting them in. We sit in the living room, the three of us, and for a moment, no one says anything. The weight of everything that's happened hangs in the air, thick and suffocating. I look at their faces, and I see the hurt, the confusion, the lingering doubt. I know they still love me, But I also know they've been torn between loyalty to their father and their love for me. Finally, it's Emma who speaks first, her voice shaky. "I'm sorry, Mom. We didn't understand. We didn't see what he was doing." I feel tears well up in my eyes as I listen to her. I hadn't expected this, not like this. To hear the remorse in her voice, to see her struggling with the weight of everything that happened, it cuts through me in a way I can't explain. My heart aches with relief, and in that moment I know that, despite everything, we can rebuild. I reach out and take her hand, squeezing it gently. "I'm sorry, too," I say, my voice thick with emotion. "I should have seen it. I should have fought harder to protect you both. I was blind to what was happening, and I'm so sorry." Olivia stays silent for a moment, her eyes lowered. But then she looks up at me, her voice quieter than I've ever heard it. "We were angry with you, Mom. We felt like you weren't there for us. We thought you were more focused on your work than on us." Her words sting, but I know they're the truth. I had neglected them in so many ways, lost in the whirlwind of my career and my marriage. I had taken them for granted, thinking they'd always be there. But now, I see how much I've hurt them. "I didn't mean to hurt you," I whisper. "I was doing what I thought was best, but I see now that I wasn't there when you needed me most. I'm so sorry." We sit in silence for a while, the weight of our words hanging in the air. Then Olivia stands up and walks over to me. She pauses for a moment before pulling me into a tight hug. I hold her, feeling her trembling against me, and I know that this is the moment. This is the moment we begin to heal. "I love you, Mom," Olivia says, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm sorry for everything." "I love you too," I whisper, my heart swelling with love and relief. "And I'm so sorry." We stay like that for a while, just holding each other. Time seems to stand still as we let go of the past and embrace the possibility of the future. I can feel the tension in both of us beginning to ease, the walls we had built between us starting to crumble. Eventually, we pull back and Emma joins us. The three of us sit together, talking for hours, sharing our pain, our confusion, and our hopes for the future. It's raw, it's messy, but it's real. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like we're finally healing. We're finally on the road to forgiveness. By the end of the evening, I hold both of my daughters in my arms, feeling their love and support. We're not perfect, but we're a family again. This is the moment I've been fighting for, the moment when the broken pieces start to come together. I stand in my apartment later, looking out at the city once more. There's peace in my heart, but I know the journey isn't over. We've made progress, but there's still work to be done. We'll have to work at this every day, but I know now that we're stronger than ever. We've survived the storm, and we've come out on the other side. The road to healing is long, but now I have my family by my side, and that makes all the difference. We're not done yet, but for the first time, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I step into my new office space, the business I've worked so hard to build. The floors are polished and the air smells faintly of fresh paint. The walls are bare, but they're filled with potential. I stand still for a moment, taking it all in. This is the next chapter of my life. No more waiting, no more doubting. It's time to start living for myself, to prove that I can build something not just for my family, but for me. Something that belongs to me alone. The office is sleek and modern, filled with light and energy. Tall windows frame the city skyline, and I can feel the hum of the city outside. It's the same skyline I've looked at for years, but now it's different. Now it represents the opportunities that are waiting for me, a fresh start and a future that's full of promise. The city buzzes with life, but here, in this space, it's just me and the chance to build something real. Sophia is here with me. As always, she's been by my side through every tear, every step forward, and every victory. I could feel her excitement as she walked in beside me, her eyes wide with admiration. "This place is amazing, Val," she says, her voice filled with genuine pride. "I knew you could do it." "I didn't know if I could," I admit, my voice quieter than I intended. I turn toward her, my hand on my hip. But I had to. This business is more than just a job. It's proof that I can stand on my own. "You've always been able to stand on your own," she says, giving me one of her warm smiles. "You just needed to see it." I take a deep breath and nod. She's right. For years, I let the weight of my marriage, the demands of my family, and the expectations of others cloud my vision. But now, I can see clearly. This is my time. This is my moment to prove that I can succeed on my own terms, that I can build a future that's mine to shape. The phone rings and my heart leaps into my throat. It's the first client meeting of my new business. The butterflies in my stomach flutter wildly as I answer. "Valerie Thompson Designs," I say, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hi, Valerie, this is Sarah James. I've heard great things about your work, and I'd love to discuss a potential project." Her words bring a rush of excitement. This is it, the moment I've been preparing for. I set the phone down, feeling a burst of energy flood my veins. I'm nervous, but I know this is the moment I've been waiting for. I've worked so hard for this chance, and now I have to show her everything I'm capable of. Sophia gives me an encouraging smile as I prepare for the meeting. "You've got this, Val," she says, and I can hear the confidence in her voice. She's always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. The meeting goes better than I could have imagined. I present my vision, sharing the designs I've worked on in the past few weeks. My passion for interior design shines through in every word, and I can see Sarah's eyes light up as she listens. When I finish, she's silent for a moment, and the uncertainty creeps in. But then, she smiles. "I love it," she says, her voice full of excitement. "I can already picture it. I think we're a perfect fit for this project. I'd love to sign a contract with you." My heart races as I hear the words. I try to keep my composure, but inside, I feel like I'm floating. I've done it. I've shown someone what I'm capable of, and now I have a signed contract, a commitment. I'm no longer just trying to rebuild. I've succeeded. As I walk out of the building, the weight of the moment sinks in. I've done it. I've built something from nothing. I'm no longer the woman who was left behind. I'm the woman who created this. I am a success. And I can feel the weight of the last few years lifting from my shoulders with every step. I look out at the city from the entrance of my building. The skyline is still buzzing, and I know that this is only the beginning. There's so much more to come. The road ahead is long, and there will be challenges. But I'm ready. I've built a foundation, and I'm ready to keep building. As I sit in my new office, I look out the window once more. The future is bright, and I'm ready to face it head on. For the first time in a long while, I feel certain. I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm not just surviving anymore, I'm thriving. And with every step forward, I know I'm shaping the life I've always deserved. The journey has just begun, and I'm no longer afraid. I have everything I need to succeed, and the best part? I'm doing it all on my own. As I stand on the balcony of my new home, I feel the weight of everything that has led me here. The cool evening air brushes against my skin, and I take a deep breath, letting the peace settle into my bones. It's over. I've made it. After everything, the heartbreak, the battles, the rebuilding, I'm standing here, looking out over San Francisco, the city that has seen me at my lowest and now at my highest. I can hardly believe it. The golden glow of the sunset paints the sky, casting a warm, soothing light over the city below. The lights of the buildings begin to flicker on, one by one, like stars coming to life. The city seems to embrace me as I embrace my new life. Everything feels possible now. The life I once thought was lost is now a reality, mine to shape, mine to enjoy. For so long, I carried the weight of my past on my shoulders. The betrayal, the heartache, the anger, it all felt like a heavy burden. But now, standing here, I realize just how far I've come. I've let go of the pain. I've made peace with the woman I used to be and the life I thought I had to leave behind. Sophia stands beside me, her presence a comforting reminder that I didn't go through this alone. She's been my anchor throughout this entire journey, and I can't imagine having made it without her. She leans against the balcony railing, her gaze fixed on the city below. She knows me better than anyone, and I can tell by the way she's looking at me that she's proud of how far I've come. "You did it, Val," she says softly, breaking the silence. "You really did it." I smile, my eyes glistening with emotion. "I couldn't have done it without you," I reply, my voice thick with gratitude. "You were with me every step of the way." She reaches out and places a hand on my shoulder. "I always will be. You've earned this moment, Val. You're stronger than you think." I nod, the weight of her words settling into my heart. It's true. I am stronger. I've had to be. I've had to face my fears, my doubts, my pain, and still I've come out the other side. The woman I am now is someone who can face anything that comes her way. I look out over the city again, the streets stretching out before me. The world is mine. It's wide open, full of possibilities. The life I once thought was beyond my reach is now at my fingertips, and I'm not afraid anymore. I know what I'm capable of. I've proven it to myself, and I will continue to prove it every day. The phone buzzes in my pocket, pulling me from my thoughts. I pull it out and check the screen. It's a message from Olivia. She's letting me know that she and Emma are on their way over for one last family dinner before they leave for college. My heart swells with pride as I read her words. She's grown so much, and so have I. We've been through so much, but here we are, stronger than ever. Our family is whole again. There's no more anger, no more bitterness, just love, just the promise of a future where we can finally heal and move forward together. I turn to Sophia, my heart full. "I have to go. My girls are coming over." She smiles, her eyes filled with understanding. "Of course. Go. You've got this." I nod and walk inside, feeling lighter than I have in years. The house is warm and inviting, and as I prepare dinner, I can hear the laughter of my daughters filling the air. It's the sound of healing, the sound of a family coming back together. For the first time in a long time, it feels like everything is exactly as it should be. When Olivia and Emma arrive, it's like no time has passed. We sit together at the table, eating, talking, laughing. The past is behind us. There's no more division, no more anger. We're finally free of the chains that have held us back for so long. We talk about their future, about the dreams they're chasing, and I can't help but feel a sense of pride in my heart. They're not just my daughters. They're strong, resilient women, ready to take on the world. And I know, without a doubt, that they'll be okay. They'll thrive. After dinner, we sit on the couch, just the three of us. Olivia rests her head on my shoulder and Emma leans against me. I hold them both close, feeling the warmth of their love and support. This is what I fought for. This is the family I was always meant to have. We're not perfect, but we're together, and that's enough. As they leave for college, I feel a sense of peace settle over me. I've healed. My family has healed. The future is bright, and I'm ready to take it on. There's no more fear, no more regrets. Just the knowledge that we've come out the other side stronger, together. I stand in my living room, looking out at the city once more. The journey is far from over, but it's a journey I'm ready to take. The past is behind me, and now the future is mine. I've earned it, and I'm ready for whatever comes next. The road ahead is open, and I'm no longer afraid. I've rebuilt my life, I've rebuilt my family, and I'm ready to live it to the fullest. As I reflect on everything I've been through, I want to leave you with one important lesson I've learned along this journey. No matter how deep the betrayal or how painful the past, we always have the power to rebuild. It's not about erasing the hurt or pretending it never happened. It's about choosing to rise from the ashes and create a new life, one that's filled with strength, resilience, and most importantly, hope. There's no perfect path to healing, but there is a way forward. Each step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to the person you're meant to become. Life doesn't always go as planned, but that doesn't mean it's over. In fact, some of the most beautiful moments in life emerge from the rubble of what we've lost. So my question to you is, how will you choose to rise after a setback? Will you stay stuck in the past, or will you embrace the future with open arms and a brave heart? I've learned that we all have the strength to turn the page, to start anew, and to create a life that is worth living. I want to hear from you. How have you overcome your own struggles? What lessons have you learned from life's most difficult moments? Let me know in the comments below. If this video resonated with you and gave you a little spark of hope, please drop a 1, or let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you didn't connect with this video, that's okay too. Tell me why and let me know where you're watching from. Let's keep this conversation going and support each other. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. I've got so much more to share with you, and I'd love for you to join me on this journey. Stay strong and always remember, your story is far from over.